Welcome to TLC for the Soul podcast, where soul meets spirit. You have entered into sacred space. I'm your host, TAMI Chambers, and I'm here to help you shine. Now let's get going on this podcast journey.
Just taking a little morning walk. Let's see how much I can do here. I'm being on the end of this 70-pound dog. Oh, gosh. Tethered around the waist. Enjoying this beautiful late autumn morning. It's actually supposed to be 20 degrees above average today. It's 75 degrees today. And I am like, I will take that. Can you just make that like an all winter long thing? Oh my God. Absolutely beautiful. Girl, can we stand still for a second? All right, wait a second. Here at the park this morning, we have pretty much a beautiful, serene solitude morning.
Hello, friends. Hello, and welcome to Bringers of the Light Sunday. Welcome in, welcome in. Thank you for joining me here on yet another Sunday morning here at TLC for the Soul. Before I go any further, I'm going to wrap us all in love light and light love, inviting in the guides who overlight TLC for the Soul, Archangel Michael, Archangel Metatron, the Pleiadians, and a host of TLC for the Soul guides to join us on our journey. Join us on this week ahead. This week, so if you're new here, settle in. Typically, Bringers of the Light Sundays, we read from my channeled fiction books that I'm writing, that we write. I'm an author, artist, and master healer. All the books that I write are all done via automatic writing. I have fiction and nonfiction. Everything I talk about, links to everything, are always in the notes of every show. And right now we're working on my Bringers of the Light book, Flying Potion. And so it's not out there in ebook format because it's a work in progress. But everything else is out there. We have over 15 published books. Have quite a few oracle card decks out there as well. And we have our Patreon, where we dive deeper into some of these esoteric topics, as well as that's a space for our Bringers of the Light fan base, fandom, for those of you that want to play around more with the book series stuff. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for always joining me here. I love our collective family, and I always love to hang out with you guys whenever I'm able to do that. This week ahead, though, this is where we talk about the week ahead. I do have the channeling from Flying Potion, so if you've missed any of the previous chapters, we are all caught up now in the audiobook. Chapters 1 through 6, I think, are out there now. My dog is being weird sounds. Chapters 1 through 6 are out there and everywhere. But the audiobook playlist is available, so you can just, jump, because there's multiple recordings. It'll just go straight from one to the other in the playlist format through the whole book. But I dropped the other day chapters 3 through 6, and I did a live book circle reading from the Chai House Tea Bar in Rockaway Point. So it's a little bit more interactive and fun, and you can play with that if you want to get caught up on where we're at with Flying Potion, which I will just do a mini backtrack here in a second. But oh no, hopefully my throat holds out. What else is going on? It's going to be unseasonably warm today, according to the weather. It's going to be like 75 degrees, which is apparently 20 degrees above average for this time of year. And I was like, you could just leave that this way for the whole entire winter, and I will be entirely so over the moon. I care less about winter weather at all. But I'm going to enjoy this day. And I think it's going to be like this for the next week or so. Woo-hoo. the week ahead. I want to invite the guides to come in even closer to me and help have minimal distortion come out of my mouth regarding the energies that we're feeling for the week that's coming up. Because I want to make sure that what I'm sharing is meant for the collective, and it's not just, something that's coming just from my filters or maybe somebody else in the community that I'm just connecting with more closely. So I might have to I don't know, dial back out a little bit. This week, however, we do have the last quarter moon on Thursday, and we move into Scorpio season. I don't know exactly when. I think it's sometime Monday or Tuesday. And, I don't, was that was like a person's hand that came in here. That's really interesting. I don't really see that coming out in our next Flying Potion chapter, which is, let me just take a look. We're on chapter 7, which typically 7 is a number about moving forward. But we're in a little, and chapter 7 is called a winged messenger, but we're in a little bit of a kind of like a weird amalgamation of energies right now. And kind of what I found is whether you're watching it in a card reading or an oracle cards, or you're pulling your own cards or whatever, typically what comes out, if you're asking about time frames, to me always seems to align very closely to what's going on in the astrology. I think they kind of go hand in hand, but if you're not an astrologer, you don't know how to look at all of this stuff in the astrology and kind of figure it out. So, cards or some other divination tool is something that can also help you. But we are in the middle of a sacred geometry in the celestials right now called a Cardinal Grand Cross. It looks just like a Celtic wheel cross. If you look that up, it's like a wheel, and it's basically like, like a pie split into 4 equal pieces. But it's aspecting the later degree points of the cardinal signs. And so that's Aries, Libra. Oh, am I going to get it right? I can't remember. Oh, I'll have to go look. Now I need to know, because oh my God. Because this does play out in what we need to know about cardinal signs. You guys may know these right off the top of your head. I knew what I was getting. Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So it says, because of this, these cardinal signs are referred to as the leaders, trendsetters, and idea people of the zodiac. They're visionaries, able to tolerate new beginnings and change, and able to make things happen out of thin air. And this Cardinal Grand Cross is aspecting some of the outer planets that are in those signs in the later degree points of those 4 signs. But what's happening there then is it's paving the way for new beginnings and stuff. But at the same time, it's also testing our self-mastery skills in those areas. So the way you can look at that is you can just, I will put in YouTube, I'll put in the community posts a link to Molly McCord's video about this Cardinal Grand Cross. And the reason I'm talking about it is because it doesn't just last, some of the astrology just lasts like a day or two. This one lasts into November. The aspects of this are taking us into November. And then right in the second week of November, we have Pluto finally coming out of Capricorn. It's been there since, I believe, 2008, and moving into Aquarius. So we're getting ready to have a huge new beginning in Aquarius. So any things you've been dealing with since 2008, Capricorn, the sign of the mountain goat and climbing the mountain and working really hard. 2008 for me is when like my whole career kind of like career life like flipped and took like some freakish downturn. It's like I was at the very height of my career, And then in 2007, I had my son. And when I came back from maternity leave in the beginning of 2008, and when I went back to work, it was like everything changed about my career. It was very weird. And so since then, I've been like, well, I left the corporate world. It took me 7 years to leave the corporate world from that point, to get fed up enough to finally do it, I guess. No, I had some interesting things. I moved from Texas to California, and I stuck it out a little bit longer. And then finally I was like, I just can't do this anymore. And I left, and I started TLC for the Soul in right around that same time, in late 2015. TLC for the Soul has been around longer than 8 years. I've been working on my business since I left the corporate world in 2015. And I've been like, oh my God, trudging along, happily though, doing the work, but just trudging along to see any results really since that time frame, since 2015. So almost 10 years, even though TLC for the Soul is celebrating its 7th year anniversary this month, in October. But it's stuff like that. So think back to 2008 and now, like what's happened in those times? What do you feel like it's been this uphill climb, slowly climbing toward this whatever. And I think we will in November see a big flip, a big change when Pluto changes signs and moves into Aquarius. It's moving out of an earth sign into, into Aquarius. And it's like, I feel like this time period, I don't know exactly when I think this Cardinal Grand Cross happened right around the full moon time, middle of last week sometime. And it's pushing us to, I guess, number one, realize how far we've come. So I feel like we're getting tested in these different areas of our life. So wherever you have, whatever house you have the later degree points in of Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn is kind of where your self-mastery skills are being tested right now. And I don't necessarily feel like it's keeping you from moving forward with anything in your life. I just think things are coming up to test you, to help you see, like, is there anything I still need to work on? Or is there anything wow, I'm doing so much better than I reacted, or I did something so much differently than I would have done before. Wow, I've come really far. Now it's like, Spirit, can you please let me move on, right? Can you please let me move past these areas and move forward? And I think that's all in preparation for number one of many, but Pluto changing signs is a major one, they're saying. So before I read the chapter, I wanted to grab some cards like we always do for the week ahead, because I feel like there's that feeling, that Cardinal Grand Cross, which is very earth-based, is very, when you look at a Celtic wheel cross, let's see if I can show you. Well, I can't show you if you're listening on the podcast, but you can look it up. Unless I can find it, and I'll put it in the thumbnail of the, Mike could put it in the thumbnail of the thing. But if you're watching on, I don't want a freaking piece of jewelry. I want, don't say, come on. This is the other energy that's coming up. Okay. Well, it looks like that. And so, like this one with this gold and this black, it's like Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. The points of the wheel cross are the planets being aspected in the astrology. But I do feel like with Scorpio season starting this week, we are going to run across some themes or some feelings of, I just keep hearing ire, I-R-E, the word I-R-E, like ire, because these bigger themes, oh my God, I'm getting so hot. I'm going to have to take off a layer. Whew. Hold on. Hold on. I'm just doing it all real time here. Whew. Summer very warm. It's supposed to be hot today, but I did put on bonfire perfume. These big, yeah, the ire, the anger. we did some October healing and light language video was one I did 2 shows back. And we talked a lot about manifesting and feeling like you're not manifesting things yet, and how that could be coming up for you in terms of how you're feeling about that, right? Because I think in that show I talked about manifesting the drill that just showed up in the street in front of my house. If you haven't watched that, might want to go watch that, because there was some clearing in there. But I feel like there's going to be these energies with the Scorpio season is going to be pushing them, trying to push them out and push them up to be dealt with, of this ire, of this like irritation about like why some things still haven't happened yet. And they're saying everybody listening here is going to have that sort of feeling about something that you're really working on in your life. Because before I started the camera, I was like, I don't want to be just talking to one person or just tapping into my own, ire. I want to be talking to everybody that's going to tune into this. And then I asked Spirit, I'm like, so help me like pull out from perspective wise, so that I'm giving messages that are pertinent to, more than a couple of people. And so it still seems like it's coming up because I already set that intention. So everybody here listening or watching has got that feeling about something that's going on with them, because Pluto is like a collective energy. The energy of Pluto, and then in Capricorn, is more a collective, a thing that a group of, the collective is working on, versus more of like something you're working on internally. So this Pluto in Capricorn that's been here since 2008 has been pushing a collective of people to master some skills and to level up and all these different things. So it does apply to you, but I feel like as the month turns, as we pass Samhain and Dia de los Muertos and we move into November, I think there's going to be those of us feeling like, oh shit, it's another freaking year, and here I am yet again. And I've still, me, I have my list of like, I've been writing this same list since some of my goals actually since 2015. Writing this list, and I'm, since who knows how long, each year I've been writing the same things. For 4 or 5 years I've been writing the same things. And, we keep hearing, I think there is opportunities to practice your self-mastery skills with this Cardinal Grand Cross in the skies, about how are you going to parent yourself, so to speak, when those feelings start coming up, when the ire comes up, or the anger, or the rage, or whatever it is, about like the year's almost over and I never manifested XYZ, or I still didn't manifest XYZ, even though my guides and every time I listen to somebody talk about it keeps telling me to just keep going and keep prevailing and keep persevering. So I feel like you're going to have to really take an honest look at these feelings that come up again and be like, I don't know. Let's go to the cards then. Let's just see what Spirit wants to say about this. So I brought in 2 decks. Whenever we need like a good like hand spanking, I'm bringing the Vision Quest Tarot, only because it's so spot on. The book is like amazing. You have to have the book along with the deck. And before we read, because the chapter we're going to read is very fun and lighthearted, and I feel like that's what we're supposed to get to. But there's this dissonance that we have to deal with first about time frames. And it's not just us either. I was watching a couple of other readers this morning, and in the readings that I watched, the same message was coming up about people being irritated about how long it's taking for something to manifest, or the fact that maybe they've been, you feel like, over and over again, you're being told, look, at the stars have aligned and you're fine and everything, you're doing everything right and there's nothing you need to do, and the good old, divine timing. And you might just have to wait a little bit long, might just have to wait a little bit longer. And how are you going to deal with that? What are you going to do? And you're going to have to really manage it in your energy body to help you stay high frequency. It's going to take diligence, and I think you're going to need support from your guides a lot. And I'm never afraid to ask, like, please tell me, I will actually say I need extra support today to get through this day. Please could just come in and do whatever needs to be done to help me, whatever, meet my priorities or have a better, mood or whatever. So, you have to ask, otherwise, they can't just step in and do those things. And you have to ask every time. You can't just ask just once and be like, oh, that's a blanket statement, from here on, ever on out, you're going to help me. And it's like, no, every morning, actually multiple times a day, I check in with my guides, I say prayers, I ask for assistance, and sometimes in the middle of something, I'll be like, I can't get something to work, and I'll be like, please help me with this, and then they will, but you've got to ask. So let's look at the week ahead, and then we're going to read Flying Potions. We can have some levity about what's going on here. Oh, see, 7 of Fire, endurance is what came out, and if you're listening, it's just a bunch of like burned out matches or wands. They look like they've just been burning and smoldering and smoldering and smoldering, and they're in front of I don't know if it's a sunrise or a sunset, honestly, can't tell in the card. But what they look like they're forming to me too, because they're all crossed in different ways, is there's this symbol. Here I go again with the symbols. It's called I think it's called the Web of Weird. Oh, is it the Web of Weird? Web of W-I-R-D. Yes, Web of Weird. W-Y-R-D. And I believe it's Norse mythology. Yeah, it's also called Skuld's Net. And I swear these look, when you look at this, I'm showing you two, but you'll have to look. And then when you look at this, I don't have no hands, I don't think. When you look at this and you look at this, it looks very similar every time I see this card. Now, the Web of Weird or Skuld's Net in Norse mythology is all about the matrix of the fates. It's a metaphor for fate and destiny derived from the spinning of the 3 fates. And so, yep, I'm getting big chills there. Chills is my confirmation from my guides. This week is an initiation, a friggin' endurance test. Let's see what else the book says, though, before we're going to get one more card. And I didn't, these are the types of messages that I'm like, man, people don't want to hear this crap over and over again, right? Actually, we have had some very upbeat weeks. And so this one coming in, there's just this perfect storm of this Cardinal Grand Cross, along with this flipping of the wheel into Scorpio season, along with this last quarter moon. I feel like maybe the Samhain new moon towards, at the end of the month is going to help a little bit, but not really until we move out of Pluto and Capricorn, they're saying. And I don't know exactly. I think it's like November the 11th, right on or around 11/11. So honestly, you've got, why do I keep saying honestly? Honestly. Hold on. That is a song. Let's just look at this song, and then I'll read the card. I know I'm going down. See, I think this is how you're going to get through this time. I told you guys, it's the running away with the faith thing, finding something to distract yourself. This is a song by, I'm very I grew up in the 80s. I did. In the 80s. This is so I'm a big metal child. So this is a song by a metal band called Striper, and they were very much they weren't totally like Christian metal. They were kind of like right on I think they were trying to be like a mainstream, but have some Christian undertones at the same time. But that's neither here nor there. But the song is called Honestly, and the lyrics are, honestly, I believe in you. And I feel like this is the universe or your guides. Not necessarily like another person saying this, but the song is like, honestly, I believe in you. Well, and that's, I think, where the Christian undertones were coming from, is because a lot of their songs were about, God and Jesus and all of that. Do you trust in me? Patiently I will stand by you. I will stand beside you faithfully. And through the years I will be a friend for always and forever. Call on me and I'll be there for you. I'm a friend who always will be true. And I love you, can't you see? That I can say I love you honestly. And will never betray your trust in me. And just the same thing. I'm a friend who will always be true, and I love you, that I love you honestly, that I can say I love you honestly. Honestly, I believe in. Do you trust in me? All right. So that's your guides, back to it's divine timing and blah, blah, blah. The Seven of Fire. Endurance, stamina, perseverance, remaining in the present, centering. Do not identify yourself too much with problems in your environment. Even if you feel shaken and insecure, you can rely on your inner being's, here it is, unwavering presence. This is not a time to give up and resign. Use the obstacles in your path as an opportunity to grow in consciousness instead of telling yourself they must be insurmountable. Even if a certain situation demands some pushiness on your part, it will serve to strengthen your self-confidence. What matters is staying faithful to your own truth now. Here's your chance to stand up for what you believe without compromise. Stay centered, focused, and allow things to untangle themselves. Your courage is a flame that cannot be extinguished. So, endurance test. Let's read. So in order to run away and escape all that, I'm going to read the next chapter of Flying Potion. And then I'm going to draw one more card for the week ahead. Just give us a little bit of guess what? So when we last left off, we had Rory and Sunny going from Rockaway Point to Tessalock Marina. They were going to go out on Rory's dad's boat, the Old Sioux, and they had a friend, Halcyon, who was getting the boat ready for them to go. And Rory and Sunny were under Abigail's broccoli casserole spell about how could they just go and have. Really, they were supposed to be working, and her spell was inviting them to go have fun and go out on the water and go play and just take the day off. And they were going to try to go to do some fall fun things, like go to the WBAT 44 AM haunted house and go to the pumpkin patch and the Argyle Inn corn maze. And then a chapter that we didn't read together, but which is in the audiobook, The Boat Takes on Water, was mainly about the Rockaway Point Gist, which is their newspaper in town, and how long it had been around and what was going on there. But Polly Willikers comes back in because she had caught a blurry picture of Mindy. Oh my God, I can't even talk. Mindy Smatherton, who was the witch flying in on the broom that's out for Dakar. And should I just read them both? How long is it? Yeah, Mindy is trying to get Dakar. She's trying to get Abigail out of the way. We don't know where she's from or what she's doing. She wrote some silly book called Flying Potion that Dakar was trying to read at the Black Tongue Inn. And he's like, this book is horrible. Even though he stuck around and read it for like 70-something pages. He was like, this witch doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't know how to say her incantations right. And, he got rid of the book. And the Black Tongue Inn, he's like, there's nothing happening here. And so he left to come back home to Abigail, who was missing him, and working on her bakery goods at Crust. And Polly Polly Willikers and Scratchy are main characters in our Bringers of the Light series. And Polly's like, well, I'm going to figure out what's going on. I want to know who this witch is. She saw Mindy Smatherton and she didn't know what she could do, but she's like, I'll have to figure it out for myself. Meanwhile, Dakar decides to leave Abigail's house, go home to change clothes. And Mindy Smatherton knows that. She gets on her broom. She goes to Dakar's cottage and she's waiting for him to come home. So I'm going to drop in kind of mid-chapter 6 and read that all the way into chapter 7. And the way we do this here is this is a channeled fiction work of my works of magic. And they've all been done with clear intention, not just to be a fun story and to be part of our Bringers of the Light is me, Bringers of the Light is you, it's all of us, but to also have messages and metaphors and meanings and healing in them for you whenever you find them. So when we read a chapter like we're going to do now, we're asking Spirit at the end to help suss out any additional metaphors or meanings or signs that might be messages for you. But at the same time, you can listen with your master senses and pull out anything else that I might not point out or talk about or whatever that might be a message or a confirmation meant just for you. That's what these are all about, more than just a story or a book. So Polly captured a blurry shot of Mindy Smatherton the other morning, high on flying potion and touching down right behind Crust. She'd sent Scratchy, that's her familiar, to investigate, but all he came home with was an itchy rash on his front paw and some story about how an old hag witch had jump scared him and ran him off. My nose is so itchy. Polly had called Heather Happenstance, our girl about town, but Heather was on vacation at Alton Towers Resort with her new paramour, Paulo Mathers, from the Black Dog Pub in Tessel Lock. Heather having met Paul after a very confusing letter he'd sent to her about how he and his twin brother Saul had seen a ghost in the backyard of their Tessel Lock home that they thought she might be interested in. Well, Polly thought to herself that it was up to her again to figure it all out, while simultaneously Scratchy was thinking the same thing. Mindy Smatherton puckered her lips and waited patiently outside Dakar's cottage. He would have to come home soon to change clothes, she thought, admiring him for his taste in fine menswear and his penchant for always being stylish. He'd have to change clothes soon. He'd been wearing that same cashmere sweater and tweed slacks since the day before. And it was in this time of his greatest vulnerability, pants around the ankles, that Mindy would swoop in and capture his heart again. For surely Dakar had not forgotten about their tryst so many lifetimes ago. Chapter 7. There's water flying everywhere today. I'm telling you, emotions are going to be coming out just unexpectedly. Could be a lot of tears instead of anger. Polly couldn't wait any longer. If Heather wasn't available to help her out, she would embark on this fact-finding mission on her own. Polly didn't like to worry Scratchy, but she felt like his help would be useful. She'd use that ointment. Oh my gosh, my nose is so itchy. It's like comedy relief. She'd used that ointment that Clark Witherspoon had given her, and Scratchy's paw rash had cleared right up. That Clark Witherspoon was a dream, Polly thought, recalling that it had been quite some time since she'd had a dream person all her own. While Polly was conjuring in her mind, Scratchy was dreaming of his own manifestations. Mindy Smatherton was salivating at Dakar's door. Dakar was feeling a very strange sensation of needing a wardrobe change. He kissed Abigail with the same passion he always felt for her, the one that made her knees weak and her heart flutter. "Meet me later for dinner?" he asked, since he didn't want to assume her availability. "Yes," she said, but then backtracked. "Oh, wait, it's Coven night tonight," she said, wondering if any of the Spectre and Book Coven members would even be there. They'd been a little lax in their meetups this season, but surely everyone would be interested in preparing for the Day of the Dead parade. Spectre and Book always had a very mesmerizing float in the parade each year, but they barely talked about it this month. Abigail wondered if she should still keep Spectre and Book going. So many of its members had moved on to other things or were just too busy lately. Abigail recalled how great she felt every time the group got together, and she made a promise to keep the coven going even if she had to switch members out to those who were more available. She couldn't keep being the one who did all the work. That just wasn't balanced. Let's see. There was Polly and Scratchy. This is the coven. Abigail and Rainicourt, Tamber, and Abigail realized that this small group was the problem. They needed more witches, and she decided that by this time next season, they would have their 13 members, and it would be up to those who attended regularly to help locate the others. Ah, more work to do, Abigail sighed as she added this to her ever-growing list of priorities and projects. She realized how grateful she was to even be here in this moment, and her anxiety over all the priorities dissipated. It would all work out just fine, she said to herself, knowing if she flowed along with her life, that everything would happen just when it was supposed to. The car drove up the little side driveway and parked in the back of the cottage by the garage. He unfolded from the cramped car quarters and made haste to get inside, shower, change, make a few phone calls, clean up around the house, and get his gear together for a quick fishing trip out in the harbor. He'd invited Clark Witherspoon to join him, even if Clark hadn't been his first choice. Dakar had few close friends, but a large circle of acquaintances and people he liked to hang out with in order to basically keep tabs on the energetics of the places around Rockaway Point and Tessa Lock. He was, after all, a senior agent at Bringers of the Light HQ, and as such he had bigger responsibilities and more to shoulder than some of the other agents. While Abigail was having her coven meeting, he'd be greasing palms and schmoozing at the pub with the locals to keep a beat on the happenings about. Mindy heard a car door open and close, and she made herself even more seductive by placing a glamour about herself. A little spritz of Midnight Madness cologne and a pouty smile made cherry red by Seduce Me or whatever, lip stain, and she felt the mood was perfect. She'd lit a few candles up in the bedroom, and she'd snapped her leg garter high up on her thigh with a little start at the smarting of the snap against her skin. Oh, he wouldn't and couldn't resist her now, could he? Dakar sensed something strange about the house. He'd had that same feeling he recalled a few nights ago at the Black Tongue Inn. He hoped that silly room service girl hadn't followed him home. Girls, ladies, and often guys just couldn't resist him, and although he was well aware of this, there were times when it still caught him by surprise. Click, clack. There goes my son. Mindy's pointed thigh-high boots moved across the master bedroom upstairs. Click, clack. She was a little nervous that he might not recognize her. Dakar stepped inside and smelled the overpowering perfume and the candles. He tapped his hand 3 times on his wand that he carried in his coat pocket. The wand skittered out of his coat and pointed the way upstairs. Dakar asked it what was there, and the wand bounced 3 times, which meant not danger, but something else. He let his guard down a little. He wouldn't need his light sword, he guessed, placing it back in the sheath by his side. Click, clack, click, clack. Heels, he figured, walking upstairs. Maybe Abigail had come to surprise him with a little indoor naked hide-and-seek. But no, she would never wear a scent so unappealing. And then a slight breeze surrounded him. A voice whispered in his ear. Come, lover, let's get back to old times. It teased his earlobe with an etheric tongue. Dakar tensed a little at the teasing, but he was also used to these types of seduction attempts, as he'd been expertly trained to avoid covert attempts to steal his affection in the guise of rendering him unable to respond as required. Sounds a little like 007. He was a master agent, we keep reminding you, so technically he should always be acting like one. Back to our Grand Cross testing. Mindy tickled the back of his neck. Dakar, I've come home, dear, she twanged, as his ears shrunk back at the shrill tone of her voice. I can't read this. Oh my God. I read this okay yesterday. An energy hand touched his bottom. Energy hand. God, here we go. It's going to get crazy. Okay. Stop. This is where I have to be. Okay. Whoo. An energy hand touched his bottom, and he reeled about to the ethers around him. Well, time for him to put an end to this, he thought. Although again, he was reminded that the old Dakar loved this sort of thing. Random paramours teasing him by using their energy to seduce him. That's Dakar. He wasn't that I like this. He wasn't that warlock any longer. And so he deftly silenced his ego while simultaneously swiping the entire cottage with a spell meant to drive out whoever was around. And before him, wrapped in energy bonds, stood Mindy, looking dejected in her thigh-high boots, pouty, cherry-stained lips, and disconcerting perfume. But before Dakar could swish her away and out of Rockaway Point for good, she said 2 words. Glockenspiel directive. How would you have said it though? Glockenspiel directive? The next chapter is Glockenspiel directive activate. I have no idea what the Glockenspiel directive is. OMG. Okay, so the mood changes suddenly, right? Whoo. Oh, you're gonna have to use all your tricks this week ahead to master your emotions. And the way to do it is just do whatever. Like, I don't know. Just do whatever. There's so much going on here. There's a lot of activities. There's a lot of lists and responsibilities. I think that's how you're going to get past this, is you're just going to be staying pretty busy. I know here, since the weather's going to be nicer this week, I still have my big list of outdoor things. My drill that the universe gifted to me, I've got to figure out. I've never really used a drill before, so to make sure I understand how to use it. I've got some boards and some panels and some things I have to drill down outside on some of the decks, because if there is any snow, gosh, I'm hoping there's no snow. Is that too much to ask? I'm hoping there's no snow or ice. Then I can't, be tripping on loose boards and stuff. So I've got like a ton of stuff to do. Commitments, like I have to commit to getting back to committing to channeling and writing every day and all of that good stuff. So I think as long as you stay busy, and who knows, maybe there are people coming in to distract you with their seductive ways or whatever, I don't know. And if there's not, definitely tune into this or TLC's favorites, or go listen to The Stallion Returns Chapter 9, because there's some of you that have messaged me like, whoo, Chapter 9 is another one where I bust out. It's very erotic, but every single time I read it on this channel, I go into like laughing hysterics, because there's a tongue twist that I do there that I'm not expecting, but it happens every single time. It's like, I'm like, this time when I read it, that tongue twist is not going to happen. And then somehow Spirit always makes me do it. And so Stallion Returns Chapter 9 audiobook, chef's kiss, like if you really want to change your mood. But let's get one more card from the Final Rose Tarot. Anything we can do right now to help our future self. Anything this week ahead that we can do to help our future you, that you can do to help your future you this week be the best it can be. I don't freaking know. We got card number 11, the hot seat. This book is really good too, even though I think this is a deck based on the whatever that show is, Bachelor or whatever. The book is really good. Let's see, isn't 11 the Justice card? Yeah. What can you do this week to help your future self? Because we're creating our reality in every moment. So you don't want to like set yourself up for something. You don't want to manifest something you don't want in the future. So the card is, it's your time in the spotlight. Your voice will be heard, whether it's time to share your side of the story or take accountability for your actions and set things straight. This is your opportunity. The world is watching as you take the stage for your big reveal or your most authentic truth. And accountability and justice, full circle, and truth are the keywords. I think this accountability is the main one. Staying in balance. How can you help your future self? See all those, there's a lot of fire and flames around these people. And there's a big spotlight on the girl in the card. I think the way you can help your future self this week is don't do anything that you know might create negative karma for yourself. And if you're not sure, ask your guides. Do I have time for a quick story? No, I'll save that one for another time. But yeah, I think you're also going to be tested in areas where you should know better about something that you're doing. Just like in the chapter with the Dakar, he's like, I'm not that warlock anymore. I used to be a little slutty, and now I'm not. I don't know. He's Dakar. I think he was. He was just like man about town or whatever. And now I feel like he did some work on himself. Maybe he had some sort of addiction that he had to deal with. We haven't dived enough into Dakar. He's very mysterious. Think of him as like I do think a lot of like 007 when I think of Jakar. Divine masculine will sacrifice everything to be with you. Okay, well, that just came up in my notifications. But anyway, just pay attention, because I think things will come up to test you and to be like, how are you going to react? Are you really the master, the self-master? Have you really mastered this area of your life? Are you going to do things the same old way, or are you going to do things different? And so you're going to have these little tests and things come up. You could have these emotions come up about the fact that things might be taking a lot longer than you expected them to take. And through the cards, you're just being asked to push through. And it really is divine timing. This is the second or third time we've gotten divine timing about some of these bigger manifestations taking so long that there's nothing more you can really do there. And just, pay attention. And when you feel like you're just beyond your limits in the 3D world, just go find something else to do. Think a better thinking thought. Be the bigger bear, like we like to say here. Walk away from stupid confrontations. Yeah, there's going to be something, somebody, someone, or multiples testing you, in addition to all the other things you've got on your list. So I think Spirit is trying to see how you manage all of these things together before it pushes you into the next phase of your life, which I think is just going to get even busier. And it's like some of you who have been cocooning for a long time, like I have been in this cocoon state, I swear, since like 2015. Spirit is watching to see how we do with more responsibilities and more action items and more things. Are we doing okay? Are we getting too flustered and stressed out? Do we need to pull back more? I can feel it. I can feel the added responsibilities, and each day Spirit kind of like looking at like, how are you handling that? Are you getting too stressed out? Are you able to handle this workload or this load of things and still keep in your composure and keep in your high vibe? I think that's the major point of these initiations too that are going on right now. So I'm going to stop right there, because I could probably talk for another 30 minutes about this, but I like to keep these shows kind of like, you're not listening to them all day. But if there's anything more you want me to talk about, or want me to come back and do a separate show, or I think they may have me come back at the middle of next week and do what I keep calling it's Tarot Tales. I've been wanting to do it, and dive more into some of these themes and topics with you all as well. So until we meet again, I'm going to stop here and self-soothe and support yourself the best way you know how. Take good care of yourself this week ahead, and know that you just really affirm that you're doing the best you can do. And ask for extra support from the angels and your guides when you need it. And that's how you're going to have a successful week ahead. So I want to thank you so much for joining me here. And we will see you again somewhere in the astrals at TLC for the Soul. Take care. Stomach in knots? Go see Cassie at Chai House Tea Bar. Her special drink this month is a mugwort chai or a chamomile frizzle. Both are guaranteed to set your mind at ease and calm your tummy troubles. Chai House Tea Bar, where you'll find a drink for every occasion.